So listen, man, we were talking a little bit before I had to pay some bills there about John Moxley's takeover. And I have to admit, I don't know what I expected, but it wasn't that. It was said that he was taking over the superstation, but I've also read interviews where he's saying this hard reset is going to be one of the most challenging things he's done in his career. I'm saying all that to say, I don't think we've seen the change yet, Eric. I'm wondering, do you think, and I don't have any insight, I haven't talked to anybody, I'm just shooting from the hip here now as a wrestling fan. I just want to be honest. Do you think that there is a chance that the reason some of these buildings haven't been announced yet is because that's going to become part of the story? Like, do we get to a culmination of the World's End pay-per-view in December, and then January or February or what have you, we're doing something that is different than? Maybe it means we're doing more cinematic matches. Maybe that becomes the way Dynamite is presented. Maybe it isn't a sound stage, but it's under Death Rider rules and the show looks and feels different. I don't know what to expect here, but I'm having trouble reconciling what we saw in his interview saying this is the most challenging thing. This takeover is going to be one of the most challenging things he's done of his career, while also knowing there's no buildings on sale yet for January. It feels like something's got to fit here, right?
I mean, that is an optimistic perspective, or hope probably is a better way of saying that. And I can see that perhaps this is not, first of all, if that's the case, I don't think I would have drawn so much attention to this particular show, because I think perhaps there are a lot of people like me. They're going, oh, okay, they're going to do something different. I think I'll check it out. That's the good news. The bad news is it was horrible, which will have a pretty bad impact on any potential growth going forward. If people have already made up their mind, like I did, the hard reset was a letdown. It didn't meet any expectations that I think anybody had. It was embarrassingly bad. But you drew a lot of attention to it by cutting that promo. If there is a plan, and that's giving people a lot of credit, if there is a plan in place for a more comprehensive hard reset, creatively, building-wise, cinematic, whatever, production-wise, if there is that, then I think it was a mistake to use this show to set up what's to come. But that's, subjective, I guess. Let's hope that there's something. I don't know what it could be, because when you say things like that, like, there's still the optimistic part of me, right? It's part of being an entrepreneur. I guess it's one of the downfalls sometimes of being, for me, it has been, for being an entrepreneur, is that you can see light at the end of any tunnel. It's like, fuck it, I can see it. There's a little bit of light there. I'm going down that tunnel. I don't care. I've done that way too many times in my life. Still do it from time to time. So maybe there's light at the end of their tunnel, but have they done anything up to this point to suggest that there's any kind of logic, any kind of vision, any kind of plan that could result in that light actually becoming real at the end of the tunnel and being a bright light and being successful? I haven't seen anything. On the contrary, everything that I've seen them do suggests that there is no thought process, there is no logic, there is no creative, there's no basic understanding of creative and how it works. It's just guys going out there screaming and yelling and wrestling. I don't know. Let's hope. I've said this so many times over the last couple of years when it comes to AEW. I so hope I'm wrong. I really do. It would be fun for me to be wrong. I'd be on here making fun of myself for being so negative about AEW. I can take a joke. I can laugh at myself. I do it all the time. I enjoy it. I have fun. But if there's just nothing that they've done to suggest to me that there's anything remotely close to vision or execution or planning, but like I said, hopefully I'm wrong, man. Hopefully there is light at the end of the tunnel. There's going to be a big surprise, and starting in January or maybe before Moxley's challenge, this most challenging thing he's ever done in his career, will start to take shape. we can look back at this and go, oh, see how wrong Eric was. He's been wrong so often about AEW. Been right like 98% of the time when it comes to my thoughts about AEW and projections and predictions. But maybe this is one of those 2% of the times when I'm wrong. Let's hope.
I realize that the wrestling world has changed. I mean, look no further than seeing WWE this week doing double Raw and double SmackDown tapings. So the performers have more time with their families the week of Thanksgiving. I mean, historically, Thanksgiving night was a really big night in professional wrestling. So I'm all for, our attitudes towards the performers and business growing and maturing and evolving. But I can't help but wonder, like right now, and I know MJF has been off making a movie with Adam Sandler, and I hope it makes $1 billion and a huge success and becomes a springboard for him. But I think if I'm Tony Khan, I'm thinking, and ticket sales are down. It feels like ratings are down. Maybe interest is waning a little bit. I got to have my top stars. Like, I can't imagine a scenario of this happening in the WWF where, you've got a guy, one of your top stars, making buku dollars, and he's not here. The wrestling product is suffering and he's off making a movie, but we're still paying him. Like, maybe Vince wasn't all wrong. He needed these guys to be involved. Like, I remember there's a lot of times where they had to structure filming contracts around wrestling appearances. Maybe Rock or Stone Cold or whoever wouldn't be available for all the house shows, but they were on TV. So to see these long absences for guys who were able to perform that, are bona fide box office, I know that, Jim Cornette famously says, how can I miss you if you don't go away? But every now and again, kind of need you to be here. We need you, man. Right?
There's two sides of that, and I see both of them. I was in that position a couple times in WCW where talent would come to me and say, hey, look, I've got a movie. This is a big opportunity. And I think, like Tony, it's probably one thing that we had in common is I looked for a way to make that happen. I wouldn't ever want someone working for me that had an opportunity like MJF has to come to me and just shut them down. Say, sorry, man, we need you too much. We're paying you X amount of money a year. Your first obligation is here. Even if it's true, you don't want to put it that way because that talent, I'm going to use MJF. And look, I don't know MJF real well, right? We stay in touch occasionally via text, but it's not like I sit down and have long conversations with him. So I don't know what really makes him tick, right? But if you take somebody like MJF, who obviously has a tremendous amount of talent and abilities, we've seen it in the ring, and now we're going to have an opportunity to see it on the big screen. You don't want to ever tell that talent, no, you can't do that. You've got to try to make it work. But business is business. And again, financially, it doesn't matter to Tony. He just doesn't care. He doesn't have to care. I wouldn't care either if I was him. I'm not knocking him. But the brand is suffering. And finding a way to accommodate an opportunity is one thing. Sending somebody off for 30, 60, 90 days, I don't know how long MJF's going to be out of the picture, but movie making is a long process. And depending on how many scenes he's in, he could be on lockdown for a while. Now you're hurting your brand.
Let me give you some context here, Eric. I understand you're trying to defend the opportunity. MJF has wrestled on television 3 times this year. 3.
Well, part of that was injury. Part of that was injuries, right?
My point, you're injured and then we let you go make a movie? So he's on AEW payroll all year this year. We've seen the business from the start of the year to now continue to respectfully, it's slipping. I got to have you, man. You've had 3 matches on TV this year, and he's not the only talent. I'm just saying, man, 3 matches this year on TV. Like, and I understand the magic of MJF is his promos and all that, but he's not even there doing that. Like, you've got arguably what most people think is the best wrestler in the world in Will Ospreay, but I don't know. It just feels like, what are we doing? We got to have the guys actually there. It doesn't make sense to me. I can't
And here's the other side. Now, if I was MJF's agent or manager, I would tell him, stay on that movie set as long as you
Yes.
possibly can. Do
Absolutely.
not get near an AEW camera until you're absolutely forced to by court order, because the more he's involved in what's going on in AEW right now, the more his stock is going to go down.
But that's the issue. Like when this thing first got going, everybody's a big team and we're in this together and raw, go team. And now I see guys in AEW seemingly doing like a lot of college football players right now. They're making business decisions. Hey, it's not in my best interest to show up there. I know things aren't good right now. I don't know how that would be good for me or my brand to be involved. But it's like, dude, there's a few levers I think could be pulled right now. Because as a fan, it's not the same Dynamite I used to enjoy right now. And maybe this is the calm before the storm. If we're going to be the delusional optimists, maybe that hard reset is still coming.